We'll call this 5-4 part 1 since yesterday's video didn't take. We are graphing coordinate points. Just a really quick review. When you do some graphing, the x coordinate is along the bottom and the y coordinate is on the side. And you can use it for all kinds of things. The example they gave here in the book on page 213, they wanted to know which would rise faster, a blimp or a balloon. And then they gave you coordinate points that you graphed. And so the first one is 3, 9, so you'd always start with the x. So 3, and then you'd go up to where 9 would be, right about there. And then 6, 18, and 9, 27, and so forth. And then you started at 0, 0, and you just drew a straight line. And then you did the same thing with the blimp, or actually they did, you guys didn't do it. Okay, and that's a very brief review on graphing. So let's look at some of the problems I want you guys to do. You just turned in 5-4, and I wanted you to simply explain in a paragraph what was happening here, and I think I got one from most of you. Now, the problems that I want you to do today are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. You can see that I already highlighted those in blue. I'm going to do number 3 for you. And let me say this, and this is important. The only one you have to graph is number 8. That's the only one I'm going to ask you to graph. There's a way you can figure all these out, which I'll explain after I show you how to graph this. Now, I've got graph paper. I've got single sheets that have a large graph on it. I've got sheets over there that I think have, don't get those. Sit down, please. I have sheets over there that have, 6 graphs or 4 graphs. I don't want you to use any of those. For some of these problems, sometimes I'm just going to say draw your own graph. And so that's why I'm going to do number 3 right now. I'm going to draw my own graph. And so you guys will, when you do this, here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see you kind of hand draw it, and this X and Y, and then, put, 3, 4, 5, and then a number, and then, that's slop. Okay? I want you to do it neatly. I want you to use a straight edge, and I want you to be as precise as you can. And by precise, I think that was one of our vocabulary words, means you need to be careful and neat. So, number 3 I'm going to do. Now, generally when they give you information to graph, usually, Miss Harley, the X is in the first coordinates and the Y would be in the second set of coordinates. Miss Harley, you need to be looking up here. That's why I said your name about 15 seconds ago. So keep that in mind. Oh, what happened to my screen? Did it just shut off? Oh. That's interesting. Usually it'll keep going. Well, at least I'm still recording here. Let's see if it picks up again for you guys.
Oh, great. You just turned it off. Yeah.
Looks like it's going to work. There's Sling, TV, YouTube. Look at all that stuff we could watch instead of doing math. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, it's YouTube. We can watch food.
No signal. Why? What is up with that? Huh.
Elvis was really good.
You seen it without me? Elvis?
See everything without you.
You said we were going to go see it.
I never said that.
Yeah, you did.
You said you're going to be.
Let's see if it works now.
You were going to take that day. You and Logan were in your classroom. I said
All right. Shh. Thank you. All right. So, so there's going to be times where you'll have some problems to do, and I'll say I want you to just draw your own graph. So I'm going to draw a graph here. And so you guys, like I said, you're going to get a straight edge, and you're going to draw a couple lines. You're going to draw the y axis and the x-axis. It's not going to be perfect. I can see this is leaning a little bit to the left, but you know, that's okay. I'm not too worried about it here. And then let's see here. I'm going to look at the y-axis, and it's talking about gallons. So I'll just start right here, and I'll just start making some marks, and I'm going to make them, you know, fairly evenly spaced apart. Won't be perfect, but it'll work. And I'll just start right here. I'm just going to point a little arrow right here. I'm going to pull a stick. And again, this is something we talked about a couple months ago. Mr. Orweller, what is that? It's 0, 0, but what's the name for that? Miss Scott, what is the name of that? Origin. Put up 20 points. That's the origin, okay? So I'm going to label this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right? And then over here on the side, I can write gallons. And then on the x-coordinate, looks like it's talking about distance in miles. And they have 125, 120. So, wow, let's see here. How could I do that? I'm going to start maybe right here with 100. And I'll call this one 110. And this one 120. And this one 130. And the last one, if I need it, it'd be 140. So there, I've got that graphed, and this is going to be miles. All right, now I need to graph these points. So let's see here. I'll call this car A. And it's 125 is the first point, and then 5. Remember, you always list the X first. And then car B, and then you always put the coordinate pair in some parentheses. Car B would be 120, comma, and then what? 6. Remember, the X value is always listed first when you have coordinate pairs. The X value is always listed first. I'll even write this above here. This is X, and that's the Y. This is X, and that's the Y. So let's graph these points. Let me see here. I'll use this. So I'm going to start with 125. Well, wait. It goes by tens. Where would 125 be?
In the center of 120 and 150.
Yeah. All right. And then it's going to go across to what? Where 5 is. So I got to kind of guess. Looks about right there. And then to 5 gallons. That's off a little bit, but we're trying to be as precise as possible, but when you're doing it by hand, you can't be exact. So there's my point. So 125 and 5 gallons. And then I could draw a nice straight line from the origin right through the point. And that line, and you're going to become a lot more familiar with this next year, that line is called a slope. And there's formulas for figuring out the slope. And it's not something they do much of in 8th grade, but I'm just kind of giving you a sort of a prelude to something you're going to be learning next year. All right, so let's look at B, car B. Car B, the first point is 120. So let me use this line right here. I'm going to pull a stick, and I want Miss Russell, come up here. Show me where 120 would be. Hurry up, because this is being recorded. Don't have a lot of time. Touch it. Nice, 120 is right there. And it's going to go up to what? To 6, that's right. So I can just draw a line here. And it's going to go up to 6. That looks about right there. And then I'll take the 6 and go across. And that's pretty close. Thank you, honey. Put up 20 points. You can sit down. And then I could just put my point right there. And now I'm going to draw. I'm going to pull a stick here. Draw a line. Mr. Salcedo's not here. Miss Werner, I'm going to draw a line from the origin through that point. What is that line called? Do you remember? A slope. Put up 20 points. Nicely done. Oh, that's by hand. I don't want to do that. I want to use a straight line here. So you guys, when you do this, you would do a straight edge also. Like a ruler. That's what I'm talking about when I say straight edge, or a protractor or something like that. Okay? Yeah, the edge of a book. I mean, I've even, used sticky note pads here and the harder edge. That works fine for if you're doing a little straight line. All right? So that's how you do one by hand. Now, also, lastly, I just want to say you will often have to label the points. So let me pull a stick here. Mr. Alcama, I'm looking at car B, where that green thick point is. What are those? I want to label that point. What are the coordinates of that point?
6 and 220.
Yeah, close, 6 and 120, but let me make a correction here to what you said. You always list the x value first. So what would you, if I was to label this point, what would I write first?
120.
Yeah, 120, comma, 6. Nicely done, put up 20 points. Boy, everybody from group 1 is getting the points here. Yeah, Mr. Williams, question?
Miss Russell, she accidentally put the 20 on group 3.
Too late. Miss Harley, here we go. I want you to label the car A, the red point. What is that?
125 and 5.
125 and 5. Okay, so sometimes you guys will have to label the points. And if you look at some of the graphs in this section, I think it labels a lot of them. In fact, if I recall, yeah, see, all those were labeled. And that's what I'm talking about when you label all the points. So when I ask you to just graph your own without using graph paper, because it's kind of silly to take one of those pieces of graph paper that Miss Ryan was going for. It's got 6 graphs on it, but then you just use one of them. It's kind of a waste of a piece of paper. You guys can hand draw your own graphs that look reasonable. That looks very reasonable. And so you have to do it, Mr. Orweller, nice and neat. Okay? Questions on this, anybody? All right? All right. So, now, here's the easy way. Let me erase this really quick so I have a little room to work. Okay. So, they want you to determine which car is getting better gas mileage. So if you look at it here, you can see there's car A and car B. Well, let's figure that out and set the graph aside. Because right now, the only one I want you to graph in all these problems is number 8. You can see it right there. I want you to graph number 8, and you'll do it by hand, just the way I showed you. But you still need to answer these questions. And in number 3, it says, which car is getting the better gas mileage? Well, let's deal with car A first. Car A is traveling 125 miles, and they get 5 gallons. They use 5 gallons, rather. Well, how many times does 5 go into 125? Well, does 5 go into 1? Does it go into 12?
Yes.
How many times?
2.
2 times. 10. We're going to subtract that. There's 2 left over. What do we do with this 5?
Bring it down.
Bring it down. How many times does 5 go into 25?
5.
So 25, nothing left over, okay? So car A is getting
25 miles to the gallon.
25 mpg, 25 miles to the gallon. mpg, okay? Let's look at car B. 120 miles on 6 gallons. Let's divide it. Does 6 go into 1? Nope. Does 6 go into 12?
Yep.
How many times?
2. Exactly.
Nothing left over. Okay, what do I do with this 0?
Bring it down.
I got to break it down. I still got to consider it. And so I asked myself, does 6 go into 0? Nope.
No.
Put down a 0. Nothing left over. So, car B gets what?
20 miles per gallon.
20 miles per gallon. So which car gets better gas mileage?
Car A.
Car A. So the answer to number 3 is car A. It gets 125 miles, or I should say 25 miles on 1 gallon of gas, and car B gets only 20 miles on 1 gallon of gas. My truck gets about 15 on 1 gallon of gas. Wish it was better, but such is life. Okay, questions on that? So that's what you guys do for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just do the division and figure out which car gets better gas mileage. Actually, that's 3, 4, 5, and 6. For 7, 8, 9, 10, it says determine which is the better buy. When you think about which is the better buy, yeah, the cheaper one per unit. Okay? Whoops. Yeah, well, in other words, you're kind of figuring out the unit rate. So, air freshener. So the cost, I'm looking at number 7 here. It's $6 and you get 2 refills. Well, you're going to divide 6 by 2. And then there's another one, it's $12, but you get 3 refills. So which one would be the better buy? Okay?
Well,
You want more bang for your buck, so to speak. Okay? And then number 11, I want you to do that. And that's it. Questions on this, you guys? No questions? So you all understand it perfectly.
and then 8 we're doing the
What, hon?
and then 8 we're doing the graph.
Yeah, 8 is the only one I want you to graph, and just do a hand graph like I did here, okay? But nice and neat, okay? All right. 18-minute video, not too bad. Stop.